This chart will fight against your intuition. As simple as it looks, it may give us a clue as to why making money in the markets feels so hard and why losing comes easier than winning. Suppose you start with $100. If we minus 10% and then add 10% back, it can seem logical to assume we'll be right back to where we started, but of course you'll be left with $99 instead of $100. 100 minus 10% is 90, and 90 plus 10% is 99. 10% of 90 is 9. Okay, pretty simple so far. We can see that if we repeatedly lose 10% and gain 10%, we drift lower. Although this chart stops here, if we continued, we would in fact reach zero. You may be thinking this is because we started by subtracting 10%. Perhaps if we begin the sequence by adding 10% and then deduct 10%, we may find a slow grind higher. Sadly not. As you can see, the red line begins by adding 10% and we arrive at 110. Then we deduct 10%, and since 10% of 110 is 11, we're back to 99. It seems that despite our first move being a positive one, repeatedly adding and deducting 10% gives us the same spiral down. This is why I think it's just the worst chart. You just can't win. But why is this? It seems so unfair, even not logical. Whatever percentage we choose, and regardless of how we begin, gaining and losing the same percentage will erode our balance to zero. This is why if your portfolio declines by 40%, it actually takes a 67% gain to return it to where it was. If you lose 50%, you have to gain 100% to get back to even. And as we've found, the opposite scenario still leaves us out of pocket. A 40% gain on your portfolio only needs a 28.5% loss to bring it all the way back to where you started. I think of this as a kind of mathematical entropy. In physics, the word entropy describes how everything gradually declines into disorder over time. In our mathematical scenario, I'm using the term to reflect how we see a preference to the numbers decreasing rather than increasing. The effect of this mathematical entropy is a constant drain on our finances. I want to show you another drain on our finances, which very rarely gets visualized. I've plotted the year-on-year increases in the Dow Jones, but instead of showing dollar amounts, I've shown the percent increase each year. As you can see, the chart looks very healthy. If I were to show the dollar amounts, you'd see that it's risen from 3,267 to 32,825 since 1992. But as we know, the dollar, as with any fiat currency, loses its purchasing power due to the cost of goods rising, otherwise known as inflation. This grey line shows the decline in the dollar's purchasing power over the same period. Although this decline doesn't look too bad, I wanted to know what the Dow would look like if we adjusted it to reflect the declining dollar. Here we see the red line is adjusted for inflation and the grey is the original unadjusted data. The dollar's value is now constant because it's been adjusted. The difference appears pretty striking and hints at why indexes, like the Dow, appear to rise so much over time. They're just not adjusted for inflation. If you look at the 100-year historical chart, you'd be forgiven for thinking it would have been an easy way to make money. But don't forget, the dollar has lost 89.9% of its purchasing power in the same period. The chart does show growth, but mainly it shows inflation. Just like our mathematical entropy idea, inflation can be a drain on your money, and I haven't even mentioned taxes. But I wonder, what do you think about the entropy idea and how numbers will drift to zero when you add and subtract the same percentage repeatedly? Did this surprise you like it did me? Leave your comments below and tell us if you know of any other drains on our finances that often get overlooked.